and welcome back to the Choosing Known podcast. I'm Laura Catherine Etheridge, and I am glad to be back with all of you. Hope you're having a nice day and a good week this week, and looking forward to our continued journey in abundant life. How do I have abundant life? How do I have it every single day? And that's what Jesus wants for us, and that is what we're about learning how to do, because there is a way to do it. There is a way to have that, and there's a way to have that no matter the circumstance. And Jesus wants that for every one of us, and I certainly want it, because I know what it's like to not live that way. And once you learn that you can, and you learn how, you don't ever look back, because it is a whole different way of getting to do life and getting to do every part of life. And so lately we've talked about that, our last couple of episodes of, how do I learn to do that in every part of life? And last time we were looking at when things seem like they are huge and impossible, how do I learn how to walk with God and this plan of God to be my default way of responding and my normal way of responding, so that I don't have to keep making this tough decision in that Y intersection, my plan or my way of handling this, or God's plan and God's way. There's a way we can do reps, we can exercise, we can practice things over here that make this become our normal and our default and our primary way. And so last time we spent the episode talking about, when I face a thing that's challenging, how do I do it there? Today we want to talk about this idea of when I don't feel like I'm enough, how do I do it? So when there's where I'm falling short, or I feel weak, or I don't feel capable enough, how do I learn over here how to respond in the default when that's triggered in me? Because we're going to come across things in life that are hard. We're going to come across things that are bigger than us. And, really, we don't like to think about this because it's triggering. But really, we're going to come across those things probably every week, and a lot of times every day. And, I have a good friend of mine who's also a sister-in-law, and we sometimes talk about the fact that, we have to find this way of doing life until we learn this other way. We have to have a way of navigating life, and we're unlearning this to get to learn this new way. And she and I talk about how, there's just such a compassion, that grows in us for ourselves, for the people around us, when we realize, and Jesus knew this, like, they don't know how to live this way. I don't know how to live this way. These other people, they don't know how to live this way. Jesus said at one point, these folks are like sheep without a shepherd. You could just feel his heart. Like, I love these people, and they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it. And, the more we learn this way, and that's part of what happened for me with this podcast. I came from a place where I really struggled, and I didn't know how to do that, and I did not have abundant life. I had a very challenging, mental, oppressive, anxiety-filled, stress-filled life. And I just remember, thanks be to God, him helping me run across this verse, John 10:10. Jesus saying, you can have life and you can have it abundantly, and then growing into that. And that's part of what has been this incredible burden to share, but also just such a desire. It's like, I just can't not share. How do you get to live that way? And that came out of the heart of Jesus, for people. And then as we experience it, it's going to come out of our heart. Like, I want somebody to know how. I want them to know how. And I want them to know how, not just on the sunshiny, rainbow-filled, beautiful days, but on the challenging, difficult, tough ones, that they know exactly how to have abundant life. And so we want to learn, how do I do it with things? That was last episode. How do I do it when I don't feel like I'm enough? And how do we do it from a place where we learn to have compassion with ourselves, just like Jesus did, to realize, yes, I'm going to have multiple times I run across things in my life where it's bigger than me and I don't feel capable, and I'm going to be triggered to go handle it on my own and to be afraid. And Jesus is saying, the kingdom of the heavens has arrived among you. There's a whole different way. that you can do this if you want to, and if you want to come learn how. And so we get to lean in the Word of God to the words of Jesus and learn from him, and then learn how to take that into our life and apply it. So today we're going to talk about self. We're going to talk about what happens when I don't feel like I'm enough and I don't feel capable enough. And we're going to dive into a story that is just a beautiful one. There's a ton of stories in the Bible we could use. This is just a beautiful one. It's one of my favorites. Happens to also happen on the water. I love the beach, so hey, water's good. And this is another story. It's in Matthew 14, 22 through 33. So we've got a few verses, like I often say, just let it kind of wash over you. Whatever you need to do to get comfortable and just forget about time for a minute and all the stuff that you feel like you need to do, because we all feel like we have stuff to do. And just let these verses just wash over you and soak on into you and touch you. And so here we go. Immediately so this is Jesus, he made the disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. So he'd been speaking and sharing, and there was a crowd of people, and Jesus is getting them into the boat and saying, you guys go ahead, go on to the other side. Let me get the crowd, let me dismiss them. But he's giving the disciples this chance to kind of step away. And after he had dismissed the crowds, Jesus went up on the mountain by himself to pray. So we've talked about that some, just stealing away with the Father, and Jesus did that often. He shows us that. So he goes up and he prays, and when evening came, he was there alone. But the boat by this time was a long way from the land, beaten by the waves. So there's this wind and these waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night, very late, he came to them walking on the sea. We've talked about lately, God created the heavens and the earth. If he made every substance and he knew how to make every substance, he certainly knows how to move every substance and what to do with every substance. And so Jesus, here he is, walking on the water. He's walking on the seas. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It is a ghost." And they cried out in fear. Think about how afraid we would be. You're out there, you're trying so hard. You've been up all night long and the wind is against you and you're just trying to get to the other side and you're exhausted and tired. And then you see Jesus walking on the water and you think, I have not had much sleep. That is a ghost. And they cried out in fear, but immediately Jesus spoke to them saying, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." And Peter said to him, so here we want to listen in closely. And Peter said to him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." So if it's you, then tell me to come do the impossible. Tell me to come out to you on the water. He recognized the authority of Jesus. Tell me to come to you on the water. And Jesus said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and he walked on the water and he came to Jesus. Listen here. But when he saw the wind, notice, when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, and he cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying to him, listen in here, friends, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshiped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." What a story. And I love reading these stories because they're so real. And if we really let ourselves just soak it in, they're so real for us. Here's Jesus on the water. And Peter sees what Jesus is doing, the impossible. And he wants to do it too. And God loves that heart in us. Oh, he loves that heart because that's faith. You're learning to come do the impossible. You're learning how to live, doing life with God in the impossible. And so Peter, he's like, Lord, tell me to come to you on this water. And we have that. Lord, help me do this impossible thing. And Jesus says, come. Peter gets out and he starts walking out that impossible thing. He starts doing the impossible. For any of us who have learned to do that, sometimes we learn like, wow, with God, I'm going to walk out this impossible. I'm going to trust God in this relationship. I'm going to trust God in this challenge in my life. I'm going to trust God with my career. I'm going to trust God with my calling, and maybe I'm in school, my education. I'm going to have this faith, this confidence in God. I'm going to do my part, but I'm going to trust God. Peter had to do his part. He had to get out of the boat. He had to step out and go do it, but he was trusting in Jesus when he did it. So he gets out of the boat, and we get out of the boat sometimes, and we start moving in that direction, and we start walking in that direction. But then notice what happened to him. He saw the wind. Something catches our attention. And the moment that it does, remember this image. Here's our life dissector. Something down lower than God, something down lower than Jesus caught his eye, caught his attention. It triggered in him awareness of that substance is greater than me. That substance, I can't walk on that substance. I can't do this impossible thing. I'm not able to, what am I doing? And he was afraid. What is fear? Fear is when all of a sudden we forget, here's the evaporating of God. He's not here. I can't do this. I'm not able to do this. And we become afraid, a conscious of self. I can't. And we get little, and the thing gets big, and it feels impossible. And he gets afraid because he saw the wind. And that's what happens to us. We see something, it catches our attention, and when it does, we shift our focus. We shift our focus off of Jesus, who said, come do the impossible, Peter. You want to do it? Come do it. You can do it. Come do it. I want you to do it. You're welcome to do it if you want to do it. So he comes, and he's coming out, but he sees this, and it catches his attention, and it draws his eye away, and it draws his internal focus away. And he was afraid. He saw the thing, and all of a sudden, unlike our life dissector with God up above, all powerful, the one who created the heavens and the earth, the good God that we can trust, that we can have confidence, faith in, all of a sudden, the whole framework shifted. Water, stronger than me, more powerful, can't walk on water. Down he goes, fear. And he began to sink, but then he does the thing that we're all supposed to do when we don't feel big enough. He cried out, Lord, save me. That's what we have to do. We get to that point, and we need to just learn. Turn to the Lord. Turn to the Lord no matter what. When we're doubting ourselves, when we're afraid of what's happening, turn to the Lord. Lord, save me. And listen to this. Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him. I don't know what kind of thing you might be thinking of in your life where you have stepped out maybe, or you're considering stepping out maybe, and going out and trusting confidence in God, the impossible. But we have a God that if we slip, if he evaporates in our mind and our being, if he comes down from the place that he is, in where he belongs, and all of a sudden something's getting bigger than God and we've lost focus, we have a God that loves us so much that we can cry out, Lord, save me. And Jesus immediately, God doesn't wait, God doesn't delay. He's omnipresent and he's instant. Immediately reached out his hand. He didn't just reach it out, not a little floppy dead fish hand. Peter. No, he reached out his hand and he took a hold of him, saying to him, so he grabs him physically, I'm going to save you. But then physical's not enough. Inside here, think, like Keller says, think. Jesus goes inside and he says to him, oh, you of little faith. You little faith one. You low confidence in God one. All of a sudden here, it's not a spanking. It's not a scolding. It's not a speaking down to. Jesus is saying, Peter, you wanted to walk on the water and you can, but here's what happened to you. You saw that when you started sinking, he cries out to God and Jesus is saying to the insides of Peter, he's saving the outsides, but he's telling Peter, here's how you walk on the water, Peter. If you want to, you of little faith, have confidence in God, Peter. Have confidence. You are allowed. You can. You have the possibility. If you want to, have confidence in God. And he says, why did you doubt? Why did you doubt? These questions, we need to let them inside of us. These stories are here for us to experience and for us to learn. And he says to him, you had little faith. And he says, why did you doubt? Let's look at this slide for a moment. Why did he doubt? Something inside of him became higher than God. Something inside of him became greater than God. Something inside of him became more powerful. In an instant, it woke up something that he had learned in his life. And he doubted. Why? Because that became alive. And Jesus is inviting Peter, and he's inviting us. Hey, explore this. Why did you doubt, Peter? Why did you doubt me? I'm good. I love you. Peter, he was about to go die on a cross for Peter. Jesus died. He died for me. He died for you. He died for Peter. That's how much love, that's how good he is. And he's saying, you can have big faith, Peter, but you doubted. Why? Why did you doubt? You know, sometimes we need to go into, we've talked about in episodes past, the heart, our will is where we store our beliefs and also where our emotions live. And we've talked about how our beliefs are wrapped around those beliefs, our emotion. And Peter, we know he felt afraid. That's an emotion. He felt fear, and there was a belief inside of that fear. And Jesus was inviting Peter to take a look inside that library of beliefs, to unpack it a little bit, to do some analysis. You know, Keller says, think it out. Come on, think it out. So he's inviting him, come think it out, Peter. Why did you doubt? It's a real question. Why did you doubt? Me, Laura Catherine. Why did you doubt? For you. Why are you doubting? What is the belief in? What's greater than God for you? What's more powerful? Have I forgotten? He created the heavens and the earth. And he's good. And he's omnipresent. And he's all-powerful. And we sometimes need to get clear enough about truly and indeed, why am I doubting? What is my faith in? What am I believing in? What have I come to believe is greater than God or bigger than me that I would then doubt and I start sinking because I'm not able to believe? Because I'm believing in that instead of in Jesus and instead of his words. Why did you doubt? We want to know. And why do we want to know? We want to let it be replaced. We want to let it be replaced because that's what we need to live over here in the plan of God as our default. We want to do some analysis, some mental auditing, some thinking it out, some logicking to go, now wait just a second here. Wait just a second. Yes, in my old life, this was bigger than me. It was impossible for me. I wasn't able to do this. This would overcome me. No way I could walk on water. We all have our version of that. No way I could be successful in this schooling, or no way I'm going to be able to do this job, or no way I'm going to be capable of being a parent. I've never done this before, whatever it may be. No way. There's no way I can do it. The old version of us, we can't. We can't in the without God life. In the not being aware of God life, in the not knowing who he is, good, available, omnipresent, all-powerful. When I don't know that, then that was accurate and so. But in this new life, think it out, logic it out, analyze it, swap out my belief system. Like we talked about a couple episodes, magnify the Lord. Now wait just a minute here. He created the heavens and the earth. I'm going to magnify him. I'm going to look at who he is. And I'm going to remember how big he is. He created the heavens and the earth. I'm going to exalt his name. Who is this God? He's this huge, good, loving, come and die on a cross for me, even when I was a sinner and I wasn't perfect and I didn't feel like someone maybe even worth saving. He's that God. I don't have to doubt. Doubting is the opposite of faith. Confidence. Confidence in what? God. Confidence in God. And so sometimes we need to stop in the midst of that thing that's triggering us, that thing that's overwhelming us. We're sinking, and we need to do exactly what Peter did. Lord, save me. And we need to know he's not going to little damp fish, floppy fish hand, grab a hold of us. He's going to reach out his hand and take a hold of us. And then he's going to encourage us. Oh, you little faith one. You one that's still learning who I am. You little one that's learning what I'm able to do and how much I love you and that I'm the creator of the heavens and the earth. And you don't need to be afraid when you're in a relationship with me. Why are you doubting? Think it out. Let it be replaced with the reality of me. That is God's call to us. That's what Jesus said to Peter. That's what he's saying to us, and he's inviting us. Here's how you overcome. Here's how you overcome when something feels bigger than you, when something feels greater than you. Here's how you do it. Cry out to God. Let him begin to reach in and save you, and then let the thinking inside of you change. Because when it changes, guess what happens? We get out of that boat when we say, Lord, call me to come to you. Lord, help me do the impossible. Help me to live an abundant life. Help me to live a life that by the world's standards, it is impossible. Help me to live that life, God. And we get out, and if we have faith, talked about this recently, the size of a mustard seed, it's not the amount, it's who it's in. I have confidence in God that's even just the size of a mustard seed, and I just keep holding on to it. Keep my eyes fixed on God. Then I can walk on the water and keep walking on the water and keep walking on the water. And then Jesus puts his arm around me on the water, and I walk back with him to the boat and step in the boat, and I don't sink. Abundant life. Learning to live with God over here. We learn it when we learn how to just fix our eyes. As the scripture says, on the author and the perfecter of our faith. We fix our eyes. We keep them there. We set our face. We keep it on God. We stay reflecting on he's the creator of the heavens and the earth. He is the good God. He's the all-powerful God. and we stay focused on that and we continue to focus on that. That's part of why we want to have a quiet time in the mornings or sometime during our day. That's part of why we want to be integrating more and more into our life that keeps our eyes on Him, that fixes our gaze on Him. We want to have more and more inside of us that keeps that being what's right there. So that not just in one part of my life, but in every area of my life, I am able to stay doing the impossible by what the world says, by what even my past version of me was able to do. And I do that when I keep my eyes fixed on who He is, what He is like. He's the creator of the heavens and the earth who controls it all. And I keep that just flooding into me. And that's when I learn, here's how I don't just sink, I stay up. I stay walking on the water with the Lord. So this week, notice that. Notice when you come across something, the self-doubting, the questioning inside. Oh, little faith one. Oh, little faith one. And then explore, why am I doubting? I'm going to take the question of Jesus into me in this circle. Why am I doubting? Get clear about that. Journal it out. Talk it out with a friend. Pray it out with the Lord in quiet. Ask Him to show you. Why am I doubting? Why am I? And then let your thinking be updated with a new reality as you reflect on who He is. You magnify the Lord. Practice that and allow God, Jesus, to meet you in those places, to take a hold of you, to help you process so you can learn, because that's what He wanted here. We sometimes miss that in the story. Jesus wanted Peter to walk on the water, stay walking on the water, and walk back and hop in the boat. That's what He wants for us. The little light encouragement scolding is like, have faith. I want you to live this life. And He wants that for us in every part of life. Faith, confidence. You little faith one, learn to be a big faith one, a giant faith one. And walk on the water. That's who our God is. So enjoy Him this week and explore those things with Him as you run across them. And we'll come back together, and then we're going to look at another part of this as we keep learning to apply. So this is our default. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.